The world has experienced many conflicts throughout history, but today, many people are asking a frightening question. Is World War III about to start? When we look at the global situation, we see multiple tensions rising at the same time. Powerful nations are increasing military budgets, armies are conducting large-scale exercises, and alliances are becoming stronger or more divided depending on which side you observe. Experts around the world are debating whether the current situation could eventually lead to a global conflict, similar to the two devastating world wars that changed history forever. One of the biggest conflicts shaping global politics today is the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, which began in March 2022. When Russian forces launched a large-scale invasion of Ukraine, the conflict quickly became one of the most significant military confrontations in Europe since the end of the Cold War. Ukraine received strong support from Western countries, including weapons, intelligence, and financial aid, while Russia continued its military operations, claiming security concerns and geopolitical reasons as the war continued. It affected global food supply, energy prices, and international relations. Many analysts warned that if the conflict expanded beyond Ukraine, or if other powerful nations directly entered the battlefield, it could dramatically escalate the situation and increase the risk of a wider war. Another major hotspot that keeps the world on edge is the Middle East, particularly the ongoing conflict known as the Israel-Hamas War, which has caused severe humanitarian crises and intense global debate. The fighting between Israel Hamas in Gaza has drawn international attention and raised concerns that neighboring countries or powerful allies could become directly involved. The Middle East has historically been one of the most volatile regions in the world where political rivalries, religious tensions, and strategic interests often collide when conflicts expand. In this region, they sometimes involve multiple countries, which increases the possibility of a much larger confrontation. Another area of growing concern is the tension between China and Taiwan. Taiwan operates as a self-governed island with its own political system, military, and economy. But China considers Taiwan to be part of its territory and has repeatedly stated that reunification is inevitable. Over the years, military activities around Taiwan have increased, including naval patrols, air force flights, and military exercises. The United States and several allied countries have expressed support for Taiwan, which creates a complicated geopolitical situation where a single military incident could potentially draw multiple superpowers into direct confrontation. If a conflict broke out in this region, it would not only affect Asia, but also the entire global economy, because Taiwan is one of the most important centers for advanced semiconductor production. The world relies heavily on these microchips for smartphones, computers, vehicles, and modern technology. Therefore, any disruption in Taiwan could have massive global consequences beyond these conflicts. There are also rising tensions in strategic waterways, such as the South China Sea, where multiple countries claim territory, including China, Vietnam, the Philippines, and others. This region is extremely important because trillions of dollars worth of global trade passes through these waters every year. Military ships, aircraft, and Coast Guard vessels frequently patrol the area, and sometimes confrontations occur when ships from different countries operate in disputed zones. Although these encounters are usually controlled, they still create a risk of miscalculation where a small incident could rapidly escalate into a serious military clash. History has shown that world wars often begin not from one single cause, but from a chain of events, alliances, political tensions, economic rivalries, and military confrontations combine until a spark ignites a much larger fire before World War I. Europe was divided into powerful alliances, and when a crisis occurred, the alliance system pulled multiple nations into the conflict within a short time before World War II. Economic instability, nationalism, and territorial ambitions created conditions that eventually led to a global war today. Some experts see similarities, while others argue that the world has also developed stronger diplomatic systems, international organizations, and communication channels designed to prevent such disasters. Institutions like the United Nations exist to encourage negotiation and peaceful solutions. Although these systems are not perfect, they play an important role in reducing the risk of uncontrolled escalation. Another major factor that shapes modern warfare is nuclear weapons. Several countries, including the United States, Russia, China, the United Kingdom, France, India, Pakistan, and North Korea, possess nuclear arsenals capable of causing unimaginable destruction. The existence of nuclear weapons has several countries, including the United States, Russia, China, the United Kingdom, France, India, Pakistan, and North Korea, possess nuclear arsenals capable of causing unimaginable destruction. The existence of nuclear weapons has created a concept known as deterrence, which means that countries avoid direct, large-scale war because the consequences would be catastrophic for everyone. This balance of power has prevented major global wars for decades, but it also means that any major conflict between nuclear-armed nations carries extremely high risks. If diplomatic communication breaks down, misunderstandings or accidents could lead to dangerous escalation, which is why many experts emphasize the importance of dialogue, crisis management, and international cooperation. When analyzing whether World War III could happen, it is also important to consider economic connections between nations. Today, the global economy is deeply interconnected. Countries depend on international trade, supply chains, and financial systems that span continents. A major war between global powers would disrupt these networks, causing economic collapse, shortages, and widespread suffering not only in the countries directly involved, but across the entire planet. This economic interdependence creates a strong incentive for governments to avoid full-scale war, because the cost would be devastating for everyone involved. However, geopolitical competition still exists as countries compete for influence, resources, technology, and strategic advantage. Modern conflicts are not limited to traditional battlefields. They also include cyber warfare, information campaigns, economic sanctions, and technological competition. Cyber attacks can disrupt infrastructure, financial systems, and communication networks without a single missile being fired. Information warfare spreads propaganda and misinformation, attempting to influence public opinion and political stability. Economic sanctions aim to pressure governments by restricting trade, financial transactions, and access to tehes. New forms of conflict show that global competition can occur in many different ways without necessarily becoming a traditional world war. Another reason why people are worried about a possible global conflict is the rapid modernization of military technology. Countries are developing advanced drones, hypersonic missiles, artificial intelligence systems, and space-based capabilities. These technologies could change the nature of warfare, making conflicts faster, more unpredictable, and potentially more destructive. Some analysts believe that technological competition between major powers could increase tensions, especially if one side fears losing its strategic advantage in the future. Despite all these concerns, many experts still believe that a full-scale world war is not inevitable. Diplomatic negotiations, economic partnerships, cultural exchanges, and international cooperation continue to connect nations even during times of tension. Leaders around the world understand that the consequences of global war would be catastrophic for humanity. Therefore, they often try to manage conflicts carefully, even while competing for influence. The future of global peace will depend on responsible leadership, open communication, and the willingness of nations to resolve disputes without violence. The question is, World War III, about to start, does not have a simple answer. The world is certainly facing serious tensions and complex challenges, but history also shows that cooperation, diplomacy, and human resilience can prevent the worst outcomes. The decisions made by governments, international organizations, and ordinary citizens in the coming years will shape whether the world moves toward conflict or toward a more stable and peaceful future. Therefore, understanding global Events staying informed and encouraging peaceful dialogue are more important than ever before because the future of the world ultimately depends on the choices humanity makes today. Countries including the United States, Russia, China, the United Kingdom, France, India, Pakistan, and North Korea possess nuclear arsenals capable of causing unimaginable destruction. The existence of nuclear weapons has created a concept known as deterrence, which means that countries avoid direct, large-scale war because the consequences would be catastrophic for everyone. This balance of power has prevented major global wars for decades, but it also means that any major conflict between nuclear-armed nations carries extremely high risks. If diplomatic communication breaks down, misunderstandings or accidents could lead to dangerous escalation, which is why many experts emphasize the importance of dialogue crisis management and international cooperation. When analyzing whether World War III could happen, it is also important to consider economic connections between nations. Today, the global economy is deeply interconnected. Countries depend on international trade, supply chains, and financial systems that span continents are major.